Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi. That was terrible. Hi, everybody. Welcome. What's happening? Hi, guys. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. Today, it's me, Jay Light, in the studio with.
And it's me. It's David James.
It's him. It's David James.
You have comedians on here. You have people with great followings. My claim to fame is we were roommates in college.
Yeah.
That's my claim to fame.
But look, you got in on the ground floor of J Light Industries, as it were.
Well, hopefully I hate movies enough, or I hate certain movies enough to get on this podcast.
I think you do. Given the amount of movies that we have watched together.
True.
And the amount of time we spent together.
True.
I think you're a worthy addition to the Blockbusting canon.
I'm so glad to be here.
And David, you're more than just a guy who I used to live with. You're also a writer, and you work on the television show Homeland.
I do. I'm not a writer on the television.
Homeland.
These are separate things.
Yes. There's a period in between those sentences.
I'm the script coordinator on the TV show Homeland, which airs on Sunday nights at 10 p.m. 10 p.m. 9 p.m. 9 p.m.
What season are you guys on now?
We're on season 7. We're about halfway through, and it's good. This is a good season.
That's wild.
All of the Homeland fans should be excited about the rest of the season because it gets crazy.
Man, I have still never watched it.
It's okay, totally. That's going to be a theme on this podcast, is not having watched stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the David has known me for many years and known the cultural blind spots that I exist.
Have you
within.
seen Jaws yet?
Nope, still haven't seen Jaws.
Well, the good thing, we live in LA, so you can go see that on the big screen, probably.
Yeah, there's probably some secret movie club that's going to be screening it.
I was going to say, the 4th of July is a big day for Jaws screenings. So,
is it?
Yeah.
Is it because the movie takes place around the summertime?
Yeah, it's a summer movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I have. I'm glad this week we finally have cleared up some of these cultural blind spots,
right.
and we're finally getting there. And I'm. This is a big box office weekend for, speaking of culture and the pop culture in particular.
Right.
Particular. I don't know what's happening this morning. I had to switch to morning recordings for the past couple weeks. And my brain doesn't fire properly, no matter how much coffee I've had.
You know I'm not a comedian because I'm not nearly as mad to be up this early as the guy last week was.
Oh, yeah. Well, Keith, in most comedians, we're creatures of the night.
Right, exactly.
You showed up.
I've been up for an hour or two.
You look like you've showered, and are you wearing khakis
It's
right
Easter.
now?
Yeah, it's Easter. So
I'm
going
Easter
to church.
planned. You're going to church after this. That's another thing. Comics don't go to church.
Jesus died for my sins to hate on this movie that we're going to talk about.
So different from everybody else.
Right.
Let's talk about the box office this week. So this number one entry should come as a surprise to nobody. Ready Player One, number one at the box office.
I think it might have come to a surprise to Warner Brothers, who was kind of worried about this. I don't think they were worried it was going to underperform, and I think they're kind of relieved that it did $50 million.
It did 41.2.
All right.
And it's that's just for the weekend. Yeah, it did 53 including Thursday.
Right.
But just on the weekend alone, $41.2 million, $53 million 4-day debut. Now, I remember hearing that they were worried about this, and that's why they made it the secret screening at South by Southwest, so that people could get more hyped about it.
Right.
Because there was. Once those posters got released, where they did photoshopped versions of every old movie that gets referenced in the movie.
I kind of liked it. I mean, I read the book. I watched the trailer when it came out last year, and I think the second the Iron Giant showed up in the trailer, I was like, I have to read this fucking book. Oh my gosh. So I read it. It took me 3 days. I read it really quickly because it's a really fast read. It's really exciting. And so wasn't a long time fan of this story, but I was super hyped about it, and they did the 80s movie posters. I was like, oh, those are cool, but people really didn't like them. Did you? You didn't like them?
I mean, no, I think they were it's cheesy, but they're not bad.
Right.
It's not I saw so many takes on the internet of people who were like, "This is the worst thing to happen to filmmaking."
Listen, this is that, but that movie is a lightning rod for that kind of attention. Like,
Right.
I think when you're bringing up all of these super important characters and these movies that mean a lot to people, like the one we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
People. That's religion for them. Like that's what they believe in these characters, and so seeing them utilized to make money as if they weren't already,
Right.
It hurts them on the insides.
We are sort of getting to a point where we are very rapidly over the course of the past several years approaching peak nostalgia.
I mean, this has got to be peak nostalgia.
And this is I think the first real moment where it's like we're not just seeing a takeoff of something and using all these old tropes like something like Stranger Things does. We're not seeing remakes or reboots of franchises the way that we do with like on television with Will and Grace or Roseanne, or in movies with fucking what we're going to talk about today, Jurassic World. Now it's a movie that is literally just taking it's distilling pop culture from the 80s down into a version of a movie, and not just from the 80s, from all across the time stream.
Right. I think the book was focused on the 80s, but this movie was smart and was like, all right, we can't do all the 80s.
Right.
I mean, Jay, it's not. These aren't references in this movie. These are literal characters.
I know that I've never read the book, but I have read that there is a plot point in the book where they have to literally recite word for word scenes from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
They do. They also have to do that. In the book, also War Games. They act through, like, one of the challenges is he gets put into War Games as Matthew Broderick, and he has to say all the lines and do all of the moves in order to complete the challenge. And they don't do that in the movie. They change the movie and do it slightly different in this movie, which I think was good. But like, it's these like Iron Giant is just in the movie,
right?
It's not like, oh my God, I love that Iron Giant movie, like in most pop culture references. Like, these aren't pop culture references. This is pop culture.
This is pop culture, the movie.
This is pop culture, the movie. I thought it was fun. It's super entertaining. It's got weak points, like when people talk. It's kind of weak. But luckily, there's long stretches where it's just these like big, crazy action scenes. It's like half of it's animated and it looks amazing. Like, it really looked, it doesn't take you out of it, It felt like watching Avatar for the first time, except for it stays with you, unlike Avatar, which, like, you talked about it last week. Like,
Avatar,
it's gone.
It's a blip.
Right, it just went away.
And that's, I think part of that, too, is that between directors, James Cameron is making movies that are a lot less memorable than Steven Spielberg in terms of the entirety of film canon.
Oh, for sure.
Like, James Cameron's prime came in the 80s, oddly enough,
right,
with like Terminator and Terminator 2 and
the Alien franchise.
Steven Spielberg,
a little movie called Titanic, which happened a little bit later.
Later, but Steven Spielberg is a pioneer and has created movies that forever will stand the test of time and forever are memorable. And he's prolific, way more prolific than James Cameron is. On top of that, because he's not taking trips down to the Marianas Trench to go see the dinosaurs of the ocean or whatever they're called.
I mean,
fish. I think they're called fish.
Spielberg is so prolific that he actually, I'm sure you read about it, him not wanting to reference his own movies in Ready Player One, which actually is a lot. Like, there's a lot of references to his movies in the book.
Do you think that felt weird to him to cut out those references to his movies?
It shouldn't. I felt like that was kind of like, you're using every other pop culture reference, and it's a little bit of a hand job to use your own stuff, but it's what the story is. So I thought that was kind of silly to back off that.
I'm glad that this movie wound up beating the expectations.
Me too.
I think that it's a movie that is going to wind up sort of being, I think, one of the cultural touchstone for this year.
I think so. I think once the fanboys are calmed down some, I think people will learn to enjoy this movie for what it is in the future. And
this is the biggest opening weekend gross for Steven Spielberg in 10 years.
Well, and it should be, because it might be his best movie in 10 years. I'm trying to think.
I'm looking up other movies
BFG,
that he's done. He did BFG, Bridge of Spies, Lincoln.
Yep.
Warhorse.
Oh my God, Lincoln's so boring.
The Adventures of Tintin, and Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
So this is his best movie. Like easily, I mean, people talk about Lincoln, Daniel Day-Lewis, but that's not that's Daniel Day-Lewis's movie. That's not Spielberg's movie. But it's probably his best movie in 10 years.
Steven Spielberg, man. I'm looking back on his film canon, and there is a significant drop off.
Yeah, I hope he does well after this movie. I'm glad it succeeded because it might have. I don't know if he was going to make it.
He is
in his career.
Now he's going to make it. Now he's going to make it.
Yeah.
Good job, the hot young director Steven Spielberg.
Sven Spielberg.
Number 2, another hot young director, a young man named Tyler Perry with his film Tyler Perry's Acrimony, coming in with $17.1 million.
I don't know if I have anything to say about Tyler Perry and his Madea movies.
Well,
I'm happy that Tyler Perry has Tyler Perry.
This is the one where Madea is played by Taraji P. Henson, and
right, it's not even a Madea movie, David.
In classic,
to be fair, that's it was a good guess.
It was a good guess.
Right.
If there's a Tyler Perry movie out, there's at least a 70% chance that Madea is involved.
He makes two movies. He makes Madea movies, and then he makes movies about affairs where there's probably a murder. Like you always see the trailer for them in the movies. Yeah. You're like, wow, like that's Tyler Perry. There's like 2 versions of Tyler Perry.
Let's you know what we're gonna do is we're going to I'm gonna read you some Tyler Perry movie titles, and you're gonna guess whether or not it's a Madea movie or a Tyler Perry series.
His murder movies.
Yep.
Affair movies.
Now I'm going to omit the part where it says Tyler Perry's at the front, because that's
almost always
every single one he does.
Tyler Perry presents Atlanta.
And all I'm seeing right here is the top movies from Tyler Perry. I don't want to see that. Tyler Perry's Temptation, Confessions of a Marriage Counselor.
That's got to be one of his murdery affair movies, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Because there's confessions involved.
Yeah.
I feel like in most movies where he does have it's an affair movie, Madea shows up in the end credit sequence.
Does she really?
Somehow.
I've never seen any.
She
of
has
these.
to.
Yeah.
Like I think at some point he's contractually obligated himself to continue to play Madea.
Right.
Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
That one is the Madea movie. That's the original Madea.
That's
movie.
the original Madea. Followed up by
the one I've seen.
Medea's Family Reunion.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, Diary of a Mad Black Woman not directed by Tyler Perry.
Interesting. I'm not sure I knew that.
He took over after that. Tyler Perry's Star Trek.
That was I remember very specifically that was a Madea movie.
Yep.
I remember him being Madea.
Yep, he's
at Starfleet.
They beam him in.
Yes,
beam her in. Excuse me, I got to get those pronouns right when we're talking about Madea.
I ain't afraid no space popo.
I can do bad all by myself.
That one is a Madea movie. No.
Wait. Here's the thing. It's a trick question.
Okay.
Because it is a movie where it's a scorned woman.
Okay.
And I think it's also Taraji P. Henson.
Uh-huh.
Yes, it is Taraji P. Henson looking sassy on the poster.
Right.
But Madea is the character he plays in the movie.
Oh,
so it's
God.
a mashup.
It's a mashup of both of his. It's a crossover event.
Yeah, it is.
What is this, a crossover episode?
Tyler Perry's Good Deeds.
Oh man. I think that's not a Madea movie.
Correct, not a Madea movie.
God.
Good job, well done. Tyler Perry's Medea's Witness Protection.
That one's Medea's Witness Protection.
Good job, correct. Well done. Tyler Perry's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Out of the Shadows.
I think this is actually this surprised a lot of people. It was interesting that they cast Taraji P. Henson to play all 4 Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. That was a surprise.
That was a surprise casting.
Yep, and then Terrence Howard as Shredder. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I'm glad that they changed it to Don Cheadle in the sequel.
And then Madea played Bulk and Skull, and I just realized I mashed them up with the Power Rangers. Why has there never been a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers crossover?
There has. On the show, they did it. They did it. There's like a picture, like Google. Have you seen that meme recently that's like Infinity War is the greatest crossover of all time, and then it says like, no, this is, and it's a picture.
No.
Wow. It was going around a couple weeks ago, and so it was like Infinity War is the most craziest crossover ever existed, and then underneath it was like a picture of another crossover, and one of those memes was of the Ninja Turtles meeting the Power Rangers.
The only memes that I'm the most caught up on right now is the Tell Me Something I Don't Know meme. where it's a girl posting a picture of herself looking cute on Twitter, and then all of a sudden she says, "Tell me something I don't know," and then it's people being like, "Well, there's another planet after Pluto. Did you know? Toothpaste has plaster in it to help shine your teeth." I just spat all over this microphone. I'm so sorry, Mike Schmidt. Tyler Perry's Acrimony, $17 million. It's gonna be fine. It makes a lot. The Tyler Perry movies always make a lot of money.
Right.
And then we have another Madea movie coming out this year, Madea Family Funeral. Oh, what fun.
Oh, they're just doing all the family events.
Number 3, Black Panther.
Another Madea movie.
Which surprisingly did not have Tyler Perry in it.
So surprising.
I'm shocked.
Well, they got to save something for the sequel.
Yeah, I guess if he's gonna fight Madea in the sequel,
right?
Oh boy.
I feel like you've probably talked about Black Panther a bunch, like over the past couple podcasts, because it's been at the top of the box office.
It's only after 7 weeks in. This is the furthest down it's dropped. It's at number 3,
right.
Still making $11 million.
And April was gonna knock it out anyway. We got a bunch of stuff coming out in April.
Yeah, this is a big month for movies. This one is still a surprise to me, and it should not be a surprise to me after given how well it has done over the course of the past couple weeks. Number 4 at the box office, I Can Only Imagine.
I actually kind of want to see that movie. That was, obviously going to church later. Am a Christian.
Yep, we brought those up.
I think it's interesting that they gave a biopic to a song. It's not the Mercy Me movie. It's the song movie. What other songs would you like to see a movie made out of?
I would love to see a song. Well, I don't know. I can't think of the only movie that I've ever seen involving songs for the most part are musical,
right.
like concert films,
right.
Gimme Shelter,
yes,
or Under Great White Northern Lights, Shut Up and Play the Hits. Those are things that's based on a musician and their oeuvre, as
right.
it were. A specific song?
I mean, there's a serious...
I don't know.
I think there's parody money to be made. Like, imagine if they made I Can Only Imagine, but about, like, tub thumping or like...
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, like Two Princes, like some like that obnoxious, like All-Star by Smash Mouth. You would go see the All-Star movie.
I would go see the
Smash
All-Star
Mouth
movie.
writing All-Star.
I would go see the movie about Smash Mouth writing All-Star.
This is an untapped genre of movies.
I would love to go see, because I feel like it would also take place in the Shrek universe.
It has to.
It has to.
Well, isn't that where it came from?
Yeah, well, no, that's where their cover of I'm a Believer came from.
Oh, right.
The Smash Mouth hit single. But that's the thing, Shrek is that's the perfect crossover. Because I feel like All-Star and Smash Mouth and Shrek all coexist in our minds collectively.
In an extended Shrek universe. The Shrek cinematic universe.
Yeah, it's a real thick and rich universe. Those people. If I were to pick a song that I think should have a movie based around it, I'm gonna go with "The Bad Touch" by Bloodhound Gang.
Oh yeah, I don't think I know that song.
That's the one where they sing about fucking the whole time.
Okay,
but that's like all that they do.
All right,
but I think it's about teenagers going in a basement and then being like, wait a minute, what if we watched? And it's a coming of age story,
right?
About finding Cinemax and then being like, well, I'm gonna look at all these other novelty songs. Wait, there are no novelty songs about fucking? Let's figure that out. Let's get in there. And then
the dad character who's like, you can't write novelty songs about fucking.
Yep.
Get out of my house.
Get out of my house.
And then at the end, it's like they're playing the song. He's like, I wrote this for you, Dad.
Here we go. And Accidentally in Love by Counting Crows, which I think got nominated for an Oscar.
Oh, God, I hate that song.
But it's from Shrek. You can't hate it.
Shrek 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shrek 2, Electric Boogaloo. I am... at the point now, where did it go? I just lost it. Pacific Rim Uprising is number 5 at the box office. Excuse me.
Yeah,
doing okay. Went from number 1 to number 5.
Yeah, not
I think
great.
Everybody figured out what happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's par for the course.
Yeah,
it's an event movie. You go out and you're like, oh, I want to see a big effects spectacle, but can't wait a week to see Ready Player One, so I'm going to go see Finn beat up monsters
in a robot suit. Have you seen Pacific Rim Uprising?
I have not. I've seen the first one, which I thought was pretty okay.
It was definitely a fun time in the movies.
Satisfactory movie. Perfect 5 out of 7. Not, I mean,
you rate your movies on a scale of 7?
No, that's like another internet meme that I'm quoting here. But he pulls have you seen it?
No.
Have you seen the first one?
I have seen the first one. I've seen the first one, not the second one.
You know, they beat up on the monsters for an hour and a half, and at the very end, he's like, "Oh yeah, my monster suit has a sword on it, and and it immediately kills the monster."
Yeah.
The end.
Whoops. Hey, Charlie Hunnam is a guy.
He's a person that they put in that movie.
I think that movie would be so much better if they had just let it be the entire It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia cast. Fighting the monsters.
Totally.
And then you have Danny DeVito as the kaiju who they have to defeat. He'd be great. He's a great kaiju.
Can I offer you this kaiju in this trying time?
I have number 6 at the box office. Sherlock Gnomes. It's a blip. More terrible animated movies for kids.
Yeah.
Why do movie theaters feel like they can get away with just dropping terrible animated movies?
I think you and Keith touched on it last week. I think it's at some level when your kids want to go, you have to take your kids to do something. So you go, okay, let's just go to the movies, and then you're like, okay, what movie can my kids see? Oh, there's a shitty fucking cartoon movie out. Let's just take them to that, so they'll shut up for an hour and a half, and I can,
I think
not kill myself.
Okay, look, here's my take, and as someone who's not a parent, these movies have to be made by people who don't have kids.
Yeah.
Because if they were made by people who had kids, they would know, hey, I don't want to go see a movie and be stuck with my children in a movie that I'm also not going to enjoy.
Right.
Like, there was a time when I was writing for a film review sort of blog, and I had to go see the movie Sing. Do you remember that from a couple years ago?
I saw that. Mm-hmm.
So that movie... It's not a bad movie. It's enjoyable. It's not terrible. It's got enough adult-ish humor in there, and it's a jukebox musical, so it's got like songs that you can bop around to. But that's one of those movies that, like, okay, somebody who has children probably made this movie to figure out just enough to keep the parents interested from tuning out and letting their kids run amok in the aisles and puke everywhere.
Well, and that formula of Sing, especially, like, it's just cartoon animals singing songs, which animated movies have increasingly become.
Yeah.
Like every, they just use whatever pop song is hot at the time in the trailer and then in the movie, and it has no relevance to what's actually going on at all.
Like in the Trolls movie, where Justin Timberlake had his latest hit single in a fucking movie about the Trolls. More nostalgia, more pop culture.
So that one seems like it was written by a computer algorithm. Specifically, Sing does.
Oh, Sing for sure was.
Yeah,
but it's
manatees in a pool pushing balls,
and all of a sudden, hey, guess what? We have a pig played by Reese Witherspoon singing Christina Aguilera songs. Yeah, totally
singing songs that by the time the movie comes out are way too fucking old already.
Let's throw several $1 million at this movie. That Sherlock Gnomes cost $59 million to make.
That is insane.
Peter Rabbit cost $50 million to make.
Sadly, I saw Peter Rabbit.
Why?
Girlfriend likes rabbits, I guess. I don't know. She really wanted to see Peter Rabbit.
Ah, jeez.
She's a sucker for like, oh, it looks cute. Let's go see it.
Did you go see Sing with your girlfriend?
I think I did. I think, when was that? Was that last year?
It was the very tail end of last year, like the holiday season.
Same girlfriend. So, yes.
Man. Maybe you should get her to pitch more movies.
She should.
Because if you're gonna make a movie that appeals to adults, and you got to get somebody with a sense of childlike wonder who can appreciate kids movies.
That's another thing about these kids movies. You bring up a good point about appealing to adults. For some reason, you're saying like they don't have kids, but I'm also like, I don't think these people making these movies like know other adults, because the joke, like, it's usually like a really dirty joke that they like slide in there, like, and they're like, it's for the adults, and like your adults are like, that's a stupid joke, like why
are you shoehorning this in the movie?
Right. It's like they don't know anyone. I'm telling you, these are computer written.
Well, that's
movies.
the thing about like Shrek. Not to harp too much on the Shrek cinematic universe.
Yeah.
But the original Shrek had all of that good shit to the point where I, as an adult, it took me like 6 or 7 years to get some of the jokes that were going on in Shrek that I was just kind of mindlessly laughing at when I was 10 or 11. Yes, I did not get that until I was in my 20s.
Right,
and I saw the movie again, and I was like, "Oh, he's calling him little fuckwad the whole time."
Yeah.
Wow, great! Wow, Shrek is love, Shrek is life. Congratulations. But yeah, I think I don't know. Maybe these movies should not be made in a vacuum. It feels like they are. You got you're putting all these poor nerds who can animate. You know, they have like their one job is to make an eye blink, and nobody knows how to write a fucking joke.
Right? Yes,
that is palatable for all audiences.
No, and you're right about Shrek. Everyone jokes about Shrek because it's become a meme, but like that first Shrek did a good job of combining both like it's a movie for kids and also plenty of jokes that adults could enjoy. Also,
lest we forget the original Shrek. I am double checking this right now, but the original Shrek, I think, won the Academy Award.
Did it?
It won. Yeah,
against
it
Bugs
won the
Life?
first ever award for Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. It beat Monsters Inc. It beat Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius.
How could it have beaten Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius?
I don't know, man. And look, the next year. It took a few years for Pixar to really get their bearings on the best animated feature front. The first year it lost to Shrek. Second year it didn't even get nominated. No Pixar movies got nominated.
What was the second year?
Spirited Away won.
Yep, that makes sense.
But the other year nominated were Ice Age, Classic, Scrat.
Yes, that's the squirrel from Ice Age owns movie history.
Lilo and Stitch, great.
Yeah.
Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, solid movie. One of the best movies about horses that you could ever see.
Right.
And Treasure Planet.
Yo, Treasure Planet.
Treasure Planet is dope.
People really love Treasure Planet.
Treasure Planet is a great movie.
Yeah.
Treasure Planet, one of the most underrated Disney movies in the same vein as, what's it called? Emperor's New Groove.
Right. Underappreciated movies.
Underappreciated, fell to the sands of time. Speaking of movies that are, I think, not going to fall through the sands of time, look at that transition. You see how smooth the transition was, David? Love, Simon, number 7 at the box office, sticking it out, still there. $4.8 million.
Starring the child from Jurassic World, which I have some Love Simon jokes written down.
Oh, good. I can't wait to hear them. Yeah. Number 8, Tomb Raider. It's out there.
It's the highest rated video game movie on Rotten Tomatoes, and it has like a 51.
That's impressive.
I saw Rotten Tomatoes tweet it like, "Congratulations, Tomb Raider, for being like the highest rated video game movie," and it's at like 51% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Are they ever going to make a good video game movie?
Ready Player One is a kind of a video game movie.
Okay, but it's a movie that has video games in it.
But when you watch it, you feel like this is what a video game movie should feel like.
But that's the way I feel about like The Raid also.
Right, I remember you talking about that last week.
The Raid is a video game movie. I've never seen John Wick, but I assume John Wick is a video game movie.
It kind of. I think it's really hard to translate an experience meant to be played by to be acted out and make it interesting to watch. Like, it's fun to play Tomb Raider. It's maybe not as fun to watch her do all the cool stuff. It's like it's more fun to do it yourself.
Okay, but if that's the point, then why are Let's Play videos so popular? Why don't they just let Twitch streamers get together in a room and write their own video game movie?
Honestly, I'm not against that.
I think that actually might work.
Because it might kill Twitch, so I would be happy about that.
Hey, here we go. Number 9, A Wrinkle in Time.
Dude,
Inching up.
That movie, like, I really fucking hate Jurassic World, but like I really also hated A Wrinkle in Time.
You saw A Wrinkle in Time?
Girlfriend.
Oh boy.
Wanted
to see a movie that would be turned into memes on inspiration Instagrams.
I hated A Wrinkle in Time. It felt like I was watching I had the same feeling watching a Transformers movie as I had watching A Wrinkle in Time.
Really?
Where I was angry that I'd come. I was angry that I could not leave. And all I wanted to do was yell at the screen, "Fuck you," movie.
Man, but you couldn't because there were children in that movie.
And also with the girlfriend who wanted to go see it.
Did she also, are you guys going to see the double up in the Christian box office this week with Paul, Apostle of Christ?
Apostle of Christ. Yeah, I don't have any reference point except for I love that Jim Caviezel is...
He's playing a different role.
It's funny, like, you watch like someone like Steven Seagal that like did some action movies and that's like all he does now, like direct to DVD action movies. Like Jim Caviezel is that, but for religious movies. Like he did Passion of the Christ, and now he just does like direct to DVD, shitty Christian movies.
Yeah. Hey, look, it doubled its box office or doubled its budget already at the box office. Congratulations to Paul, Apostle of Christ.
Romeo and Juliet made for, what'd you say, $59 million?
Sherlock Gnomes. And then how much was this Paul This was
Apostle of
made
Christ
for
movie?
$5 million.
Those should be switched.
And I can only imagine was only made for $7 million.
Right. Who's making Sherlock
By
Gnomes
the way,
for $59 million?
How does a movie that is based on a song not have the song budget jacked way the fuck up by the people who are trying to sell off the rights?
Wait, say that again?
The movie, I can only imagine, only cost $7 million to make.
Right.
How much of that is spent trying to get the song rights from Mercy Me, the band that the movie is sort of about, but not really about?
I can only imagine that they made the bandmates producers on the movie, and so it was like, we're not going to pay you to use the song, but I think they also released a new version of that song.
Remastered, revitalized.
I don't think Mercy Me is worried about not making money off of this movie. Like, I don't think they feel like, they're stealing our song to make a movie. I'm pretty sure that they're getting paid well.
Probably. The only movie that's out at the box office that it did not crack the top 10, which doesn't surprise me, still given that it's still only in 165 theaters. Isle of Dogs. Number 11.
Haven't seen it yet.
Saw it this week.
Yeah.
Classic Wes Anderson, but also not classic Wes Anderson. It's really weird.
Interesting.
It's his weirdest movie that I've ever seen.
I wasn't a huge fan of Fantastic Mr. Fox like everyone else was. Not my favorite of his. So I didn't rush out to see his next stop motion animation movie.
It's fair. I think, counterpoint, I think Fantastic Mr. Fox is his best movie.
Interesting.
And I think this falls somewhere in the middle. Yeah. Isle of Dogs. It's not a bad movie. Like, even a bad Wes Anderson movie is still a pretty fucking solid movie.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of being Wes Anderson.
Right.
But it's definitely like middle of the pack. Like, it didn't crack top 3 for me, which still goes Fantastic Mr. Fox, Moonrise Kingdom, Royal Tenenbaums.
That makes sense. That's about right. I wouldn't pick. I wasn't crazy. Maybe I should watch it again. I wasn't crazy about Fantastic Mr. Fox, but I think Moonrise Kingdom and Royal Tenenbaums are definitely up there.
Moonrise Kingdom's great. Moonrise Kingdom is one of the only movies that I ever saw twice in theaters, back to back, practically.
Wow.
Anyway, let's talk about movies and solving the culture and fixing problems and nostalgia with this week's choice of movie that you've come to hate. David James, you hate Jurassic World.
I fucking hate this movie. This movie is like if John Hammond had brought a brontosaurus back to life, and then like Colin Trevorrow like murdered it, and that was the only dinosaur, like just destroyed everything that Jurassic Park built. I mean, not even the second and third Jurassic Parks ruined Jurassic Park the way that this movie ruined Jurassic Park. You had two movies, like Jurassic Park 2. I know you haven't seen them. Jay has a cultural blind spot on Jurassic Park. He just watched Jurassic Park.
I just watched Jurassic Park. Here's the thing. The first Jurassic Park I ever saw was Jurassic Park 3, which I saw in theaters with my dad.
Interesting.
So I had no context other than I didn't know that Sam Neill and Laura Dern were dating before.
Right.
I didn't know that this was like not the real island.
Yes.
I didn't know shit about Jurassic Park. And then I finally saw the last 20 minutes of it on TNT. And I was like, oh, this seems like a good movie. And then 8 years later, I finally saw
watched
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to hate a lot on Colin Trevorrow here because I don't like him.
I think, yeah. Explain your hate before we get more into the hate. Let's cover the baseline.
Okay.
If for some reason you were one of the people who did not see Jurassic World, which is crazy because it made $1.672 billion at the box office.
I hate everyone.
Jurassic World is a 2015 American science fiction and adventure film and the fourth installment of the Jurassic Park series. Film directed and co-written by Colin Trevorrow, produced by Frank Marshall and Patrick Crowley, stars Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. Set 22 years after the events of Jurassic Park, Jurassic World takes place in the same fictional Central American island of Isla Nublar off the Pacific coast of Costa Rica, where a theme park populated with cloned dinosaurs has operated for 10 years. The park plunges into chaos when a genetically created dinosaur breaks loose and goes on a rampage across the island. This movie, I didn't hate this movie as much as you did.
I know.
But we're going to get into that. Why do you hate it so much? Why is your hatred so white hot and passionate for Jurassic World?
Jurassic Park is definitely one of the best movies ever made. I mean, it's
bar none.
During peak Spielberg, like it's that like he's made some kind of dud. I don't know if you watched the Spielberg documentary on HBO, but like he was he came out the gate. He made Jaws. He made Close Encounters. He made some really good movies and started. He was executive producing some in the 80s. He produced Goonies. He produced Back to the Future. But he made a couple in the 80s that people didn't really love.
Yeah.
Empire of the Sun.
At the time, Empire of the Sun. Always, which is a movie I'd never even heard of until I'm looking at it right now.
Right. And I think this movie, this also came out the same year that Schindler's List did. This movie was a return. It was sort of a return to Spielberg. And I think if you watch the documentary, it's really interesting because he made all these big popcorn movies and the critics were like, fuck him, all he does is popcorn movies. And then he made like The Color Purple and like he made some good stuff. He made some quality stuff. And then Jurassic Park, which is 93.
Yeah.
93, he makes one of the biggest, best popcorn movies of all time. And then he also makes Schindler's List, like one of the best dramatic, like critically acclaimed movies of all time.
Yep.
Like this was sort of like his masterpiece year of making these two movies.
Yes.
And so Jurassic Park obviously falls on the popcorn side of it.
Well, especially, but that's the thing though, is Jurassic Park is more than a popcorn movie. Jurassic Park is...
That's my thesis of my hate, so continue.
Jurassic Park is a movie that takes... it's a really solid thriller drama movie that happens where the villains happen to be dinosaurs.
Right.
And the best part is
I would have argued the villains happen to be the humans in the park. I'm not sure the dinosaurs are really doing anything, but they're kind of hungry.
Well, that's the thing. The villains for part of it are the humans.
Totally.
Like, but those villains who are, Wayne Knight and the fucking lawyer, the other guy, Gennaro, they both get dispatched by the dinosaurs super early on.
Totally.
To the point where the humans have to be like, oh, we fucked up. We have to save ourselves against these dinosaurs who are going to murder us.
Yes.
Because they don't know any better.
Yes. And yes, totally. And I think that's the thesis of my hate for Jurassic World is that Jurassic Park is, like you said, so much more than a popcorn movie. It really, it's based on Michael Crichton's book, which is like full of like these great themes. And the movie is too, of the human ego and, a fear of a changing time, the fear of technology.
Yep.
And, it wasn't just a big dumb monster movie. And Colin Trevorrow seems like he watched this movie when it came out, and all he remembers is like, oh, there was that one scene with the T-Rex, and then like velociraptors are scary. Now I'm gonna make the movie. And I know that's not true because there's tons of callbacks in Jurassic World to Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
In both like shots and characters. But like, dude, you had a chance to like really bring it back to its roots and try to find interesting themes to play with. Like you're doing you're doing a sequel, and the park itself is a sequel. Like Jurassic World is a sequel to Jurassic Park. So like maybe like try to figure out like what does that mean, and like what does that mean with like corporate greed, which is also a major theme in the first Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And instead, what we got was we made a new dinosaur, and it's the scariest one yet, and it gets out. Oh, and also we're gonna use velociraptors to hunt terrorists.
We're gonna get these. He's gonna write. There's so much of this movie that it does feel like was made to look for shots to look cool in a trailer. Like,
yes,
and that's the thing. Like, I saw the trailer for this movie, and still having no real context of Jurassic Park as a franchise. I'm watching Chris Pratt on a motorcycle riding next to dinosaurs. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
It maybe in some movies that would be cool, but there's oh my gosh,
it's not earned.
It's not earned, and everything in this movie is done because movies.
Right.
Like for example, the opening, like I've got a list of all the dumb shit in this movie, so we can go through it.
Let's just go through because here's my point, and I'm gonna be disagreeing with you for some of this stuff because here's what I think. I think that this movie is totally fucking fine, but that's about as far as it goes.
Right.
It doesn't go above 3 out of 5.
Right.
Because it's not an awful movie, but because it's got too much going on, which that's its real downfall here. Is it has too much. It can't decide on one focus in the way that Jurassic Park really did. Jurassic Park zeroed in on, we're going to tell this story of these people who think they know how to set up this park, and all of a sudden, all hell's going to break loose because greed gets in the way, and human error gets in the way, and people think that they know better than nature, and then man versus nature becomes the whole premise of the movie.
Right.
This movie sort of it takes all of those ideas that stewed around in the first movie and made the beautiful concoction that is the Jurassic Park soup, and exploded all of them. And it's like, we're going to try and deconstruct what made Jurassic Park work,
right,
and heighten all of the ingredients. And now you can't find a natural focus on anything.
To me, it's like they've read the Wikipedia page for Jurassic Park, and then they're like, I can make that movie. And everyone's like, you should really watch it. Like, it's deeper. No. I read a Wikipedia page. I get it. Like, the dinosaurs escape. Like, what else do I need to know?
Right. It also doesn't help that almost none of the characters in the movie are likable or have any real dramatic stakes associated with them.
Oh, dude.
To the point where it's like totally... What I think this movie should have done is it should have leaned in one direction or the other. I think Jurassic World would have worked better if it leaned more on the satirical elements that Jurassic Park already kind of highlighted a little bit.
Right.
And it definitely was leaning towards some of that by throwing in, you got strong comic relief in the form of Lauren Lapkus and Jake Johnson's characters.
I don't know about strong.
Well,
but
compared to the rest of the fucking movie.
Some comic relief, yeah.
Comic relief that is important to the movie, I think, and gives it some levity.
Right.
But it doesn't. But it could have leaned in even harder to some of those. Like, if you had, instead of having the most unlikable woman in cinema, Bryce Dallas Howard,
kind of a woman, so a vague sketch of a woman.
She wears high heels the whole time. She's definitely a woman.
Which like he was like, it's going to be so liberating to have the woman running around in high heels from the T-Rex.
And the part where she's like, I'm going to tear open my shirt and tie it around. That's how you know that I'm an adventurous woman now. I'm ready. That, if you had cast somebody who is a strong, actual comedic actress, if you had cast like a Lizzie Kaplan or like, I don't know, like an Amy Poehler to play this character, then imagine how great it would be to have those lines that she is just trying to just play those lines straight and actually successfully pull it off, instead of it being just like, well, you're just unlikable.
Right.
There's no sense for you to enjoy anything that's going on.
Yeah, and I've never been a huge fan of Bryce Dallas Howard to begin with, so already I'm starting at a disadvantage because she's not Jessica Chastain. Like, she's not like a great redhead actress the way that Jessica Chastain is. Like,
that's the first thing I think about when I think of Jessica Chastain is redhead, for sure. Right. Christina Hendricks, one of our top redheaded actresses of all time.
Totally break these women down to their hair color.
Of course, that's all they're good for in this movie. Is because everybody's just a cardboard cutout.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, Jay. The opening scene of this movie is Judy Greer. A really good actress. I would swap those people.
Swap the roles. But that's the thing. Judy Greer's not hot enough for Colin Trevorrow to put her in at the top role.
Not as big of a box office draw for Universal to agree to put her at the forefront head of a movie.
Is Bryce Dallas Howard a box office draw though?
She's been the lead actress in more movies than Judy Greer has.
I mean, I'm not going to see movies for Bryce Dallas Howard.
Anyway, my point was, the opening scene of this movie, it opens on a house, like the family, the two kids, Love Simon and Short Round, and the kid, Judy Greer, comes into the Short Round's room, and he's looking at one of those viewfinders, which were lame when we were kids, which I'm sure are even lamer now, and she's like, have you packed yet for your trip to see dinosaurs? Meanwhile, there's tons of dinosaur shit all over his walls. You shouldn't have to talk your dinosaur fan kid into getting ready for his trip to see real fucking dinosaurs. That's the first moment of this movie is false. And it only continues from there. Like, that is just that's just what you do in movies. I need to get the mom character in to talk to the kids about they're going to this thing. So, like, what if he's not ready to go to his... Like, when I went to Disney World as a kid, I was packed like 4 days in advance. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sleep. It's Christmas. Like, I'm going to see dinosaurs in real life. Like, this kid has been packed for a week.
For sure.
No, he's literally on his bed looking at the lamest toy of all time.
When we live in the future, he could have the internet open and be watching dinosaur YouTube videos if he wanted to.
Like, if she'd walked in on him masturbating to dinosaurs, that would have been a realer note than him just sitting around not being prepared to go on his trip to see dinosaurs.
And a much better way to start the movie off.
Right. Oh my gosh, so complicated.
Oh my God,
he loves dinosaurs.
He loves dinosaurs so much that he can't stop jacking off to them. Imagine how he feels when he sees Indominus Rex for the first time. He's gonna cream his jeans.
And I think also it brings up
cream his little cargo shorts.
I think it brings up an interesting point, like you said, like this movie not being focused on anything specific, like barely bothers me because there's so much else like structurally and like
the structure of this movie is so fucking off.
But
the pacing is so off.
Yes,
everything either happens at a goddamn glacial pace,
right?
And the exposition makes no actual effort to really move the story forward.
Like the scene of Chris Pratt and Vincent D'Onofrio talking for 3 minutes about turning the raptors into weapons of mass destruction. There's a 5-second shot in this the worst Sorkin walk and talk ever put to film. There's a 5-second shot of their backs as they're walking and talking, and it's not ADR'd. It's literally just the dialogue that they were saying,
right?
And they didn't cut away to where we could see our fucking characters' faces. It's so bad.
Yeah. So what else do you hate about this movie? Because I think I'm going to be on board with you for a lot of this, but it's just like...
And I think, and I expected this. This is what I expected. I expected you're going to watch Jurassic Park for the first time, and then you're going to watch Jurassic World, and you're going to go, this movie isn't as good as Jurassic Park, but like, whatever.
That's kind of what I thought.
Right.
Like, I could see why this movie was a giant success because it's an action movie.
Right.
It's a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie with dinosaurs instead of superheroes. You know, it's a movie that like you go to see and it's going to be like, hey, we'll take our kids to see this, and we'll have to explain why the lady got eaten by the Mosasaurus.
Right.
And that's kind of weird. We'll have to explain, we don't have to explain the military industrial complex to these kids,
right,
which is fine. But, maybe we'll have to explain away a little bit of blood or cover the kids' eyes. This is a fun time at the movies, which is all that it tries to be, though. That's the problem. Jurassic Park was a popcorn movie, but it was so much more than that.
And I think that's one of the benefits. I think people of my age group or our age group, I think really when they saw this sort of at a young age, and when you see this at a young age, that's all you see is that popcorn movie, this version of Jurassic World that you saw.
Right.
But as you get older and you start watching the movie and you stop skipping that scene where Jeff Goldblum, they're all sitting around having Chilean sea bass talking about nature versus humans.
Right.
Like I used to skip that movie as a kid, and when you're older, you grow to like learn like, oh shit, there's like a lot of good stuff going on in this movie.
Yeah.
This is an example of a movie that does things like we're talking about these animated movies. Jurassic Park is a movie that does stuff for kids and adults.
Yeah,
it does both because as you grow to watch this over time, and you're at the disadvantage of not having seen this when you're a kid, all you see is Jurassic World when you're a kid. But when you grow up, you start seeing Jurassic Park. Like you see this like very smart, well-crafted movie that's not just the adults are talking now. It's like, oh shit, they're saying some interesting stuff about human interaction.
That's the problem with one of the biggest problems I had with Jurassic World is it did not strive to be anything beyond that.
No.
Because it treats everybody who's watching this movie like a child. And it does one of the things I did absolutely fucking hate about this movie was the scene at the very beginning where they go to the control room for the first time.
Yep.
And they do that thing that every goddamn remake or reboot of a movie apparently has to do, where they say like, oh, well, they're going to make a wacky reference to the original franchise.
Right.
And it's Jake Johnson being like, I got this shirt on eBay, and it's genetically modified dinosaurs are all we have to do now. Like regular dinosaurs aren't enough anymore.
And she's, but also my favorite part about that moment is that she says, don't wear that shirt. It's in poor taste. It's the same fucking logo. It's literally the same logo with different colors. Like, what are you talking about?
You went from black to chrome.
How much bad taste was it that you kept the same logo from the park where lots of people died?
Right.
Oh, jeez.
It's bad.
But there's moments of dumb like that where they call back to the original movie, but then also forget what happened in the original movie. My favorite example of this is the gyroscopes, the ball thing that the kids drive around.
Yep.
They need the kids to like get lost and go off course, so they go off, and the safety measure is that Jimmy Fallon tells them they need to go back to the regular like where they can get off. Yeah. And then they just go off course and go on their own. And we cut to the control room where they say, "Oh no, we can't recall the gyroscope." Bitch, they had like controlled Jeeps in 1993 in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, you don't have a tracking system.
That was a whole thing. Was like they got into the park,
controlled things.
When they got to do the tour, they like sat in the seats and the car was controlling itself, and they're like, "Holy shit, that's new technology!" But in 2016 or whenever this movie came out, we can't control these gyroscopes. Like that's a moment where you call back so much to the original movie in this movie, but then you just completely ignore the way the movie's universe that the first Jurassic Park created.
Right.
Like, that's insane.
What are some other ways that this movie does that?
Let's see. I've got a bunch of them written down. Here's a. I mean, this isn't totally similar, but like, let's go to when they go back to the original park, the area of the park, the main, the old park,
as they call it in the movie.
The kids discovered these Jeeps, and it's like this, like, oh my god, remember the thing on the light thing on the head, and
by the way,
the Jeeps.
Is Short Round autistic in this movie? Is that something that's like hinted at we never understand?
I think that the people who made this movie may be autistic, and so that's why. I mean, I think
is Colin Trevorrow autistic?
I don't know, but look,
because he's certainly a bad director.
Well, the Love Simon kid, like his move with girls is staring at kids or staring at the girls like really creepily.
Right.
So I'm guessing like there's some disconnect of how you talk to women.
But the other kid, Short Round, is also like he's like, oh, that's a 1992 Jeep Wrangler with a drop top. I know exactly how to fix this car.
You know, we missed the scene where he detailed the monorail they rode on.
Yeah.
No, but they go to the Jeeps and you're like, oh, it's a cool callback, and then the kids just like put a new battery in the car because that's how cars work.
That's not
even how cars work.
No, but it is.
Like you just put a new battery in and then the car's fine.
That's how you put it. That's what they did to this movie. They put a new battery in it, and then the franchise is fine, and all of a sudden you can drive off.
But it's not.
No, it's not.
I think it'll be interesting to see how Fallen Kingdom comes out this summer, and it'll be interesting to see how like it does in a world where we've seen Justice League be the least the smallest box office of any of the DCU universe. I think it'll be interesting to see if movie audiences can smarten up, and if Fallen Kingdom sucks, then I think the Jurassic Park franchise may be in trouble. We're not just going to keep seeing Jurassic Park movies.
I'm interested to see what happens with Fallen Kingdom, because the other direction that I think Jurassic World could have leaned hard in on and still worked as a movie,
right?
If they leaned in on the disaster movie aspects of it, that would have been a really interesting choice. If the movie had if all hell had broken loose after like the first 30 minutes in the movie, and then they had to spend the whole rest of the time figuring out how to evacuate people from the park, figuring out how to like take down this thing that is the beast that they've created that they have no idea how to stop, because it keeps also popping up with like new superpower, like it can avoid thermal imaging. It can
talk to
itself.
Velociraptors and turn them against their dad, essentially.
And you find that out in the last 15 minutes of the movie, because all the pacing is way off. If you find out all this shit so early on that they have to spend the rest of the movie strategizing a way to avoid that and get around that, that's more interesting.
Like, then it's like a horror movie. Like you've got to figure out a way to like strategize against like Jason Voorhees, or like you're having to avoid this person with seemingly supernatural powers.
Right, but the movie can't do that.
No,
because Colin Trevorrow,
this movie can't do a lot of things.
This movie can't do a lot of things.
I mean, my main gripe is that this movie doesn't care enough about what it is and where it stood, and what it's standing on the back of this movie. And I think that there's like 1,000 little things that like it just doesn't care. Like here's a couple of examples that I picked out.
Fire away.
We've touched on a couple already, but like there's the control room security guard, which is not a character in the movie, but these people just keep coming into this secure room, and this guy, like, they have an extra who just goes, hey, you can't be in here, and people just walk by him constantly. It happens like 4 times in this movie that the security goes, you can't be in here, and they just ignore him and walk past him.
Yeah.
That's like, why even create that moment? Why even have a security guard? Why can't they just come in? Another example, Vincent, speaking of the control room, Vincent D'Onofrio comes in and says, engine's taking over this security, this control room.
Right.
And then Jake Johnson and Lauren Lapkus get to stay there because we need them to make jokes throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Like, everyone else leaves, but the people that seemingly know the least about what's going on, that are just there to make jokes, or like relay information, get to stay in this room.
Right. Jokes in the disguise of exposition, or vice versa. Excuse me. Exposition disguised as jokes.
They, you know, the kid, there's the moment when they're waiting for the gyroscopes, where he's staring at the girls. Like, Love Simon is staring at these girls, which, of course, I mean, it makes sense now that Love Simon was bad at girls, because he was in the closet.
He was in the closet. Come on, Love Simon.
But he's staring at these girls, and it cuts to Short Round, and Short Round's like, you're never going to get with girls if you just stare at them, or whatever he says. Then it cuts back to Love Simon, and it's the exact same fucking shot. They reuse a shot within 10 seconds of each other, and you can tell because there's an extra in the background that moves exactly the same way. And the same with the Mosasaurus jumping out of the water. It's the same fucking shot.
Just reused.
It jumps out and grabs a great white shark, which, oh my God, that's so dumb. And then it jumps out and eats a pterodactyl, and it's the same exact shot.
Yep.
Here's an example of what I was talking about earlier, where it like knows it has seen, whoever made this movie has seen Jurassic Park, but doesn't want to pay real homage to it.
Right.
The thing that made me maybe one of the most mad things that made me the most mad in this movie is at the very end, we end on this shot where we're like zooming across what Jurassic World is now, you know, the remnants of Jurassic World, and we zoom up and we catch the T-Rex like climbing out, like he's about to do a guitar solo or something insane. Like, if you'd done a guitar solo, that would have been an amazing ending to this movie. But he roars, and it's not even the fucking same roar from Jurassic Park. What are you doing?
And by the way, it's speaking of terrible reusing of like imagery and homages from the original, when they play John Williams' Jurassic Park theme for the first and really only time that it's not an interpolation of it in the movie, it's when he's like, they're on a monorail and it's like, look at a theme park instead of look at these dinosaurs.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. I didn't even think about it.
Dude,
that's a really good point.
That made me so mad, because I watched it and I was like, oh my God, this is like you just showed off Epcot, and all of a sudden you're trying to bring the same levity to it as you did when adults saw dinosaurs walking around for the first time.
When dinosaur experts saw dinosaurs walking around for the first time.
It's a movie that's like, it's made with so much. This movie was like, it's so obvious that this movie was made with good intentions behind it, and yet they couldn't figure out how to deliver and make the movie live up to any of the things that it was trying to create.
And I put a lot of the blame on Colin Trevorrow, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people when bad movies come out, like Zack Snyder, zealots will always say like, Warner Brothers keeps fucking up Zack Snyder's vision, and he's not getting to do these with the DC universe. There's a maybe you could link to this in the page, but there is a YouTube video. It goes behind the scenes in creating the Apatosaurus dying. Remember when Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard like catch the Apatosaurus dying, and they're like they're like, oh, it's so sad, it's dead.
Oh no, this is before they go, it's killing for sport.
Right, yes. But they take you into the creature shop where they're basically designing the only physical dinosaur in the whole fucking movie, because the rest of them are CGI. They look terrible. But there's a moment in that video where they say the director really wanted us to be able to relate to these dinosaurs. And then they show the giant fucking Apatosaurus eye that's like blue, and it was like this. In this video, it's like the point of it is that Colin Trevorrow wanted us to be able to relate to this dying animal and really feel bad for it, because we haven't already had 3 movies where we care about the dinosaurs. Like, humanize the dinosaurs to help me feel about it. Like, that's just doubting your audience. Like, I doubt that my audience cares about dying creatures.
Right.
Like, I care when the dinosaurs die in the movies. Like, especially like a sad little apatosaurus. It doesn't have to look like a fucking human for me to care about it.
Right.
That's just straight up. But that was a note directly from Colin Trevorrow that said, make the dinosaurs more human-like so we can care. And that's where all of these stupid decisions that made it into the movie, they start there. This wasn't Universal tinkering with this story or tinkering with these moments that are fucking awful and false. This is a director who can't find a true moment in a movie about dinosaurs.
Yeah.
We made 3 movies about dinosaurs. Like, there's
that have had real moments in all of them.
Super real moments in all of them. And this one feels like it's like the first one to like really just say, I fucking don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm just gonna,
are we gonna, oh God, I guess maybe make the kids' parents getting divorced? I don't fucking know.
Which is also, that moment is hilarious to me, because earlier we see Bryce Dallas Howard and Judy Greer talking on the phone, and she's like, oh, I'm not really hanging out with your kids. And Judy Greer starts like crying, and you're like, what the fuck? That's a weird choice to start crying about family. And then later we find out they're divorcing, and you're like, oh, I needed that information first. Like, you did this out of order, where I need to know that they're getting a divorce so that I can feel bad when Bryce Dallas Howard is not spending time with the kids, and understand why Judy Greer is crying.
And by the way, the conversation where the kids like where autistic short round reveals that he like knows about the divorce because he's like, I saw letters from I googled them, they're divorce lawyers. And I love Simon just being a dick. He's like, you don't know shit about Google. I caught you googling dino sex the other day. You're just whacking off the whole time.
You'll get 2 presents, so fuck you.
Hey, you're gonna get 2 Thanksgivings.
You're like 13. I'm gonna be in college soon. I'm gonna be getting laid. I don't give a shit about you, kid.
Oh, and dude, why do they even have the part where at the very beginning of the movie where he has this girlfriend who she's like, I love you, and he's just like, okay, and then backs off, and then is horny as hell the whole rest of the movie and just staring at girls?
It's because this is a prequel to Love, Simon. It's the only thing that makes sense in this movie is that the actor that plays Love, Simon this is the prequel.
This is it's got to be in the Love, Simon cinematic universe.
So we established that he has a girlfriend at the beginning of the movie, meaning that he's at least partially capable with women, and then he proceeds to be a fucking stalker the rest of the movie, so he isn't good with women. And that's it's like this movie just does things to be movie. It's just, here's a movie, here's a moment from a movie, here's a moment from a movie, here's a moment from a movie, without any regard to continuity or real characters or the way real people act.
Yeah,
it's so fucking dumb.
There's nothing.
Jay.
This movie is real pretty, but that's about all it has going for it. It's a fun time at the movies, but it's so empty inside.
It is very empty inside. Can I say what?
Say what you got to say. And then we got to wrap it up.
Okay, there's one other dumb thing about this movie that I just remember. This is a moment where you have seen the previous movies, but then you also forget about it. So there's a moment at the end of the movie when Rexy shows up and like is here to save the day against the Indominus Rex.
Yes.
Because they fight for whatever, like who knows why they're fighting.
After Bryce Dallas Howard runs away and heals
there's yummy humans around and we don't know why they're fighting. But there's a moment where when the T-Rex comes out, and you've seen, and this is funny because Jurassic Park 3 is the only one you've seen.
Yeah.
So you know about the Spinosaurus, which was like in the third one, it's like, let's make a even bigger, badder dinosaur than the T-Rex. So even creating the Indominus Rex isn't really a fully original idea.
No, it's not a fully original idea.
But the T-Rex bursts through when he shows up and he makes his grand entrance. He bursts through a Spinosaurus bones, like the bones, and it's like it's almost like if J.J. Abrams had put Jar Jar Binks bones like in the desert, But the thing about the Spinosaurus is this whole movie is built on the assumption that the Indominus Rex is the fucking biggest, baddest, like fastest, smartest dinosaur that's ever lived.
Right.
In Jurassic Park 3, the Spinosaurus kills the T-Rex in less than 30 seconds, and I counted. I had to count it. I was like, the Spinosaurus is way cooler than the T-Rex, and the T-Rex beats the Indominus.
Well, you got to have help from the other Velociraptor, Blue, who all of a sudden is like the object of desire for Fallen Kingdom.
I guess. But I think that they fight for longer than 30 seconds before the Velociraptor shows up.
Oh, yeah.
This is just like they're like, everyone hated Jurassic Park 3, so we're gonna make fun of it. And you're like, no, we should make fun of this movie you're making currently. Like, it references the old movies, but then totally forgets what they established. Which, as a nerd, when you're trying to live in the canon of your brain, it just breaks you.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why this movie is fucking garbage.
This movie is. It is what it is.
It offends me. Well, like you said, you didn't think it was that bad, but it offends me because the original has been so seminal in my life.
Man,
and
see that I wish that I had seen a movie like this.
I totally. I mean,
growing up,
it's something that Jurassic Park is a movie that gets better at the more you grow up and the more you watch it. And Jurassic World starts dumb, and it only. I mean, I was actually really excited to watch it again because I was like. I just want to like sit in my hate and just hate this fucking movie. And so I was really glad when you were like, I'm doing a movie about, you asked me to do this podcast. You're like, what movie would you do about it? I'm pretty sure I immediately went, Jurassic World. Oh my God, please, Jurassic World. I fucking hate Jurassic World so much.
And now we know why you hate Jurassic World. And
yes.
I get it. I mean, God, I am kind of scared to see Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom just because I think it's either going to do the right thing with having Jay Bayana as the director who's done a lot of great disaster movie work and lean more into that aspect, or it's going to be another utter fucking disaster.
I'll tell you one thing. Getting Jeff Goldblum back in the movie is not going to be enough.
Yeah.
You can't put Jeff Goldblum in the trailer and in the movie, and
especially
it's going to get me back into
when
it.
he has just a cameo. This movie didn't have a Jeff Goldblum.
To be fair, it kind of did.
Not really, though.
They're reading his book in a couple scenes, and you see him on the back cover, which is
doesn't count.
It's at least something.
You needed somebody who seemed smart enough to be throwing out all of the other people's like ideas, but also be charming and quirky while doing it. Or maybe not quirky, but charming and entertaining to watch while doing it in the way that Jeff Goldblum was in Jurassic Park.
Right. B.D. Wong does his best, but in this movie, but it's still like when you're surrounded by so much dumb, it sinks the ship.
This ship is fucking sunk.
It's sunk.
And Colin Trevorrow's career is also maybe sunk because of it. We'll see what happens when he comes back for Jurassic World 3.
Is he directing the third one?
Yeah, they just brought that out as news this week. He's been hired back on to direct the third one.
Well, you got to give the guy something because you took a Star Wars away from him, and I was so happy. It was like that was him getting Star Wars taken away from him was like my wildest dream.
Dude, me too. I could talk a whole other podcast about Safety Not Guaranteed,
which I think did that come out when we were in college?
We watched that in college
okay,
together.
I was gonna say I thought that movie was okay at best. I don't think that's your resume to direct a giant $150 million movie. But.
I agree, but that's the problem. It's you can make a sci-fi movie or a movie entertaining all you want because there are time travel or dinosaurs, but if you can't put real humanity and emotion in those movies,
right.
Then what the fuck are you making those movies for?
You're doing nothing. You're going to go on and make Book of Henry, which apparently was this terrible movie of last year.
You're a false prophet.
False prophet.
He is risen. Happy Easter,
Happy
everybody.
Easter, everyone. Happy Monday, Easter.
David, thanks for coming in today, buddy.
Thanks for having me. Thank you for letting me yell at you about Jurassic World.
I appreciate you coming in to yell. Where can my listeners find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at HooHoo3000.
Still haven't changed that.
Dude, I made that. It's HooHoo, HOO 3000. That was a Pokemon from Pokemon Gold or Silver.
Yep.
Made it when I was in 4th grade, and I've kept it strong branding, which is probably a terrible idea.
Twitter since 4th grade?
No, but I've used that username. You know, AIM was my username.
And you do have a Pikachu as your avatar on your Twitter.
Do I?
Yeah, it's a Pikachu that's got an electric. It's doing an electric shock face.
I think that's
Pikachu.
Oh, that's my YouTube. That's because I made that YouTube. It's my YouTube. Anyway, my YouTube is also at HooHoo3000. But also, since I don't have anything to plug of myself, please watch Homeland on Sunday nights at 9.
That's something to plug.
Our finale is April 27th.
Wonderful.
At the end of the month.
You can find me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram, jlightcomedy.com for show dates, and that is please rate and subscribe. We finally have more than one rating on iTunes.
Amazing.
But we only have 5, so if you could take a couple seconds to post
unless
a
you're
review
Colin
and a
Trevorrow,
rating.
please do not rate this podcast.
Colin Trevorrow, please cast me in Jurassic World 3, and I will be the Jeff Goldblum of your dreams. love Jay. Thank you so much, everybody. This is Blockbusting. Guys, go see something good for a change.